So, the theme of this session is protecting data in the cloud. And of course, that's a title that can be taken in several different ways. So we may look at this topic from a number of different angles. But first of all, I think it would be useful to go through and for each of you to say a few words about your background and specific experiences that relate to the topic. Now, do any of you have a presentation prepared? Right, so François and Serge, you both have one. Okay, so do we have we do have them, excellent. So what I will do is, if I can ask each of you to just do a quick personal introduction, and then who would like to go first with a presentation? François?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm François Vaille. I would like to say I'm the young CEO of Luxembourg company. CEO of a young Luxembourg company doing electronic e-safe professional factory. So my background is IT solutions and
microphone.
Sorry.
Did you hear? No. Okay, so I'm a big fan of lean solutions and lean way of solving things.
Okay, thanks. So we'll just go along and then we'll come back to François to do his presentation.
So hello, my name is Frank Dengler. I'm one of the founders of Audriga, a company which migrates data in the cloud. We started with an email service, enhanced that now with also groupware features. And my background, before I founded the company, I did a PhD at the university in the area of semantic web, where we also have to deal with lots amount of data, and therefore I know how important it is to protect data.
Thank you.
Okay, maybe I've already presented my company, maybe a few words about myself. I'm Stefan Furlan. I'm the CEO of Optilab. I have a PhD in computer science. And basically for the last few years, when I'm leading the company, I haven't had the opportunity to do technical stuff. And I miss them a little bit, to be honest with you. So just for you to know where I come from and what I do. Thanks.
Well, it seems I'm the oldest. So I'm Serge Raucq, I'm 42. Do you confirm?
I do.
Okay,
Not the oldest.
Sorry for that. I'm the managing director of Luxembourg e-archiving, as its name explains, is a third-party archiver here in Luxembourg. We are a member of a community which is called in Luxembourg the PSF community, like the professionals of the financial sector. So the basics of our business is to provide to our customers the highest level of security for the data they give to us.
Okay, thank you very much. So François, I know you've got some slides.
How does it work to get the slides?
And you'll work from there. Okay, perfect.
I can do it from here?
Yes, absolutely. No reason why not.
Which button? I'm just checking.
You don't. I have to give you the.
Oh, okay.
You'll need this.
No, it's not cloud-based, so we have problems. Okay. So I will not speak about a product we do, which is electronic e-safe for professionals, but just about a few thoughts about how you can make the cloud trustworthy and how you can build confidentiality in the cloud. So there's a couple of politically incorrect things in it. How many of you do have a bank account? Oh, I'm quite surprised. There are quite a lot of hands raised. I was expecting only a few of them, but not everybody.
They probably have them in Switzerland.
Yeah, but not everybody did raise their hand, so it's official we are in Luxembourg today. So, do you have friends? How many of you are friends? friends, I guess. I like the teddy bears very much, you know, because you can trust the teddy bears for life, even if they are not PSF or ISO certified. You can trust them for life. And how many of you are friends working at a bank? I guess you should have, because in Luxembourg there are more banks than inhabitants, so normally that should be the case. Okay, so now we go to the next question. It's a more tough one. Do you trust your friends? Maybe, yeah, no, or other people? Maybe friends of friends would like to be your friends. They would like to know everything about you. Maybe you'd like to know your bank account, I don't know. So what's the confidentiality of your account? A friend of a friend looking at your bank account. It's not your account manager, but looking at your bank account. Yeah, I would say, oops, no. This never happens. No, this happens. I can tell you this happens. I already did that once. I'm ashamed of it, but I did that. So I shouldn't, but I did. So why? Why is it so easy? Huh? And it can be relatives and neighbors and what you want. So of course this never happens, but this happens. So why does this happen? It's because it's very, very easy. Yesterday I drove back and I get flashed by a speed camera at 1:11. So sad. If there was no speed camera, I wouldn't have been flashed. But if the car would have a module which limits the speed at 110, okay, I cannot drive at 111 unless I am buying an illegal module, doing something which I know is really bad, going in a dark cave to build this module which is on the table with guns and drugs and that kind of things, you know. So I wouldn't have done this, but it's easy to do, so I do this. So now, let's speak a bit about data, not your money. So imagine you're not speaking about your bank accounts, but the data you have in the cloud. How do you make sure it's kept confidential? During storage, archival, sharing, recording, in case of record management application, healthcare, and blah, blah, blah. A lot of different, how do you do that? You have a first option is doing that by procedures, by policies. Okay, so you set up policies and you say you follow them. You say very loud and clear that you follow them. You say, no, this never happens. Okay, another option, maybe a bit stronger, is you set up those policies and you have them really followed. Just not only say that you follow them. You educate good employees and you fire the rebels. It might work. It will have a cost, but it might work. Or you can get help from technology to restrict areas where safety relies on procedure, so that it's easier to get the procedure, the policy followed, because it's simple. If you have a car with a limiter, it's impossible to go more than 110, you won't go 111, it's impossible. Second option is by technology. So when you speak about confidentiality with data, technology is mostly all encrypting techniques. So you can do client encryption, PGP, that kind of things. It's not always possible, not always very easy for the user, and that's why there are people like here, like Regify, for managing that kind of stuff. You can do server-side encryption, but then who holds the key? And you can do mixed encryption. But at the end of the day, there will always be a weak point, a point where somebody could steal the data, could steal a key. But you can make the right mix. So you can build an architecture when you make sure that the place where you have weak points is a very small place, and a place which is much more easy to make safe than a huge architecture with bricks and bricks and bricks, where you have dozens of weak points which are very easy to control with policies. Then, of course, operate this because of those weak points that you cannot completely eliminate in a trusted data center, and it's a little bit hard for Luxembourg, operating under a good legal framework. That's it.
Thank you very much. François. That's great. So what I suggest we do is we have Serge do his presentation, and then we can follow up the excellent points that you've made in your talk and the talk, the materials that that Serge will present as well. And then I certainly have some questions that I want to put after that presentation. I'm sure people in the audience do as well.
Okay, thank you.
You need to switch your microphone on. And François, if you could turn yours off, it helps the sound.
Yes. So this is scary. I have something like 5 slides to show, so don't hesitate to interrupt in case of question. The first slide is, of course, a kind of presentation of my company in a nutshell. I have already said that our unique business is third-party archiving. We do nothing else. We focus on the preservation of the digital assets of our customers, meaning that we preserve the probative value of their documents. To ensure perennity, we have a pretty strong shareholder, which is the P&T Group in Luxembourg. And also we have an ISO 27000 certification, which is the famous ISMS, like Information Security Management System. We have also a new certification in the pipe, which is Luxembourgish. It's something that does not exist anywhere else, which is called the PSDC, like Professionnel des Services de Dématérialisation et de Conservation. Let me try. Professionals of the Services of Dematerialization and Conservation. And also we have a very high-level hosting partner with EBRC. EBRC is itself a company of the P&T Group, and it is the only data center in the world to have more than 2 sites that are level 4. So that's enough for the presentation of the company. Our objective has been set by the market and by the norms and the regulations. On the left hand, we have the requirements that are attached to our activity. You have there ISO constraints, you have legal constraints, regulated constraints, etc. On the other hand, on the right, you have innovative business models that arise, namely the PSDC, which brings a very high level of responsibility on the directors of the companies that do the dematerialization or the conservations of documents. So between those two big things, we have to build a pragmatic organization in order to, of course, be compliant with the norm and the regulation, and on the other hand, to answer to the market, to the market requirements. Well, and those are the market requirements. So, all of you should at least require a subset of those. Security of the information, security of the assets that you provide to the third-party archiver, and in the scope of an archiving policy. I'm sure that you all request reversibility. I mean, you provide a lot of a high number, of documents. At the end of the day, I guess that you want to get them back. Of course, disaster tolerance. You don't want us to depend on only one site. Restitution and integrity. So this is something strange. It's based on the legal value that is provided in the case of a restitution of documents. So you ask us to provide you back some documents and re-provide back also all the logs and traces attached to this document in order for this very document to be approved in front of a judge. Of course, exhaustivity. If you provide us with a huge number of documents, you want us to manage all of them, not only a subset of them. You want us to be audited and to have a consistent set of insurances. And at the end of the day, in many years, in order to preserve the privacy of the data, you want us to destroy completely the documents you have provided to us, after restitution or not. So that's what you want. And the good thing, and be sure that I will not explain all pieces of that, the good thing is that through a normative patchwork and through a very complex legal and regulatory patchwork, all the requirements you have are in fact mandatory by law or by norm. And that makes the big equation. So you have on the left all the stuff I've just explained that provide us the ability to execute our business, and this ability to execute together with strong partnerships and perennity provide real data protection. Okay. So this is the big equation. I don't want to show more than this. I think it is sufficient, and the rest is for the questions.
One question that Richard asked Talentsoft, Richard Sykes in the audience at the end of the Talentsoft presentation, said, your company is not really a technology provider, it's certainly not a software provider, so much as a service provider. And so I wanted to put the same question to you. How much of what you provide is really a service of providing compliance to these normative requirements, and how much of it is technology?
I would say in front of the customer, 100% is service. Of course, behind the lines, we have to put together pieces of software, we have to develop, we have to put an infrastructure in place and manage it, etc., etc. But in front of the customer, the only thing they see is the service. More than 50% of our cost is the setup and the maintenance of an organization able to put these services in place.
Great. Okay, so Frank, you don't have a presentation, but I must ask you if there are points that you would like to raise before we go to a discussion.
Yes, sure. So for me, one important aspect for data protection is also not only protect technically the data, but also the user must have control over their data. So the thing is that you always, at any time, have to take your data from one provider to another one. And on the other hand, what François mentioned before was that if you want to destroy the data, the service provider must destroy the data. So you have to keep the control of your data, and that's something to protect your data, which is really important.
Right. So leading on from that, one of the questions that I wanted to ask all of you was, and I hope that you. I'm not sure when each of you arrived at the conference, but I'm assuming that most of you will have seen the presentation by Vivian Reading yesterday about data protection. So obviously this is something that affects all of your businesses in a very direct way. Do you think the impact of the proposed harmonization of data protection in the European Union will help your business or make it more difficult? Does it make it easier or present more challenges?
Clearly, yes, it will help. If you just look at the legal cost.
And in what ways will it help?
It will help. It will get the legal cost down, because you don't need to face a lot of different jurisdictions. So it's a great help.
So you certainly welcome it. Yeah. Is that a general point of view? Does anyone see any problems with with the proposed harmonisation? It's a positive move. And how urgently do we need it?
Tomorrow.
As soon as possible, yes.
Right, okay. So which of course we will have to wait for it. We have to see how it's actually executed, because it still has to be endorsed by all of the national parliaments and indeed the European Parliament and the Council. But it's good to see that you welcome it as a positive move. Does anyone have questions or points that they want to raise at this point? I can always launch into other questions, but I'm very keen to involve questions and contributions from the floor as well. So any time that you have a question you want to raise, please just kind of indicate. And right, we have a question.
Henning Timke from Switzerland. Can you secure large amounts of data, about 100 terabyte in video?
We have really no limit in terms of volume or size of objects that we archive. So we have different kind of objects. It may be very small invoices, for instance, of about 10 or 40K kilobytes. It may be a video streaming, it may be anything. In fact, the mechanisms that are behind the electronic archiving, do not depend on the size of the object or the format of the object. Okay, let's take an example. The example of integrity. We have to compute the hash value of an object, which is not very different between one or other size of object. I mean. Basically, what is very important is to put together an infrastructure that can scale dramatically. That's the most important thing, and that's one of the major architectural work that we have done at the beginning of the project. But virtually, there is no real limit. We can duplicate what we have done in many different ways. I mean, the financial aspects are more the limit. Sorry? Yes, sure. You want me to give the price tag? Right? It's a little bit complicated because we have to study a little bit more what are the needs. But okay, more or less, the price for the archiving for very sensitive documents, so the highest level of security. Is about 100 euros per gigs per year, the highest level. Okay.
Okay. One question that occurred to me was, how essential is it for each of your businesses to own the infrastructure rather than using a third party? I mean, we heard from Numeji this morning. There's obviously companies like Amazon. Maybe you do use co-location rather than having your own data center. But to what extent is it possible to continue to provide those guarantees that you have to provide to customers if you subcontract part of your infrastructure? Go ahead, Stefan.
Yeah. For us, this product, this cloud that I was talking about earlier, of course we own and manage that infrastructure. But now with new clients in different countries, we are moving to Amazon because it's not essential to our business. We are service providers. Application level is our where our added value is, and infrastructure is just infrastructure.
And are there specific steps you have to take to protect, when your data is in the Amazon cloud, do you have to take particular steps to make sure that you can still guarantee integrity and security to your customers?
Yeah, basically we would need to have back-to-back comparison between our SLAs and the SLAs that Amazon would provide, and basically this, based on that, we would also agree on the level of service that we would need from Amazon. But basically, in our case, this is not so it's not so hard.
Okay, François, what's your take on this?
In our case, it will be a little bit tricky to work with Amazon. In fact, we don't own the infrastructure. We partner with a Luxembourg data center, which is LAB. And for example, with Amazon, we would have to have we have 2 layers in the infrastructure to make it easy to secure. We have a dynamo ring for the geeks. It's a storage, scalable storage engine. And this one could be anywhere. Just need to make sure that nobody comes with a hammer and breaks the disk, but everything is encrypted and the machines don't even know what they are storing. So this one could be in the Amazon cloud, and then get the processing layer somewhere here in Luxembourg, but it will cost in telecom, and at the end of the day it will cost much more. And also for cost reason, in this case, Amazon is not cost effective because we can produce the gig fully secured, encrypted at the same price as Amazon if you want. Okay, that's not what we will do, but we could sell at the same price and make a little bit money.
Frank?
So for our business, it's essential to you.
Sorry, François needs to turn his microphone off. Okay. It's one at a time.
Yeah, okay. So for our business model, it's essential to use cloud services because we provide a migration service, and we could have to one another day 1,000 accounts to migrate, and the other day there's no account. So for us, we cannot afford to have the whole data center stuffed with machines which we use one time a year or so. So we rely on the services, and the thing we do is that we secure all connections, encrypt the data, and do not store data on these computing machines we are using as cloud services. So the emails are routed through our system, but in a secure way. So yeah, and they are not stored. So yeah, we are on the safe side.
Serge, clearly you have a lot of control over your infrastructure.
Yes, in our case we are a little bit more paranoid. So we have not built our own data centers, of course. We use EBRC for that, but we own our servers, we operate our server, we own our storage, and we operate our storage. The reason is very easy to understand. We have a very high level of personal responsibility. In case of dissemination or in case of non-destruction, we are legally responsible of this, and in the Luxembourgish context, we are even, how would I say that? We are at the highest level of responsibility. I mean, the prison is not very far. Right. So we do not want to give or to transfer this responsibility to a third party. We want to keep the control on that. Destroying a document after 30 years of retention seems to be easy, but it's not just to move it to the trash. It's a little bit more complicated than this. We have to locate all the copies and destroy all the copies separately, and provide a proof to our customer that we have destroyed all the copy of the digital document. So this is not easy. I guess that you understand it is not easy. We cannot do backup and restore, for instance. It is impossible in our business. We cannot back up, because if we do, we have a copy that we cannot control anymore in the future. I mean, in a 30 years long period. So for that very reason, we keep full control on our infrastructure.
Yes. Any more questions? I really liked the example that you gave, François, in your introductory presentation of the bank employee who's a friend looking at data, because it's a wonderful example. People are always saying how unsafe data is in the cloud. But that's a perfect example that your information is unsafe anywhere if people break the rules or if you can't trust the people. So that leads me into a question actually for all of you, which is about the users. Because the more information we put into the cloud, the more the data security is actually not a question of how easy it is to break into the data center or the network. It's actually a question of where are people writing down their user IDs and passwords, and what processes are they using to keep them secure. And I think this is an aspect of cloud security that all of us in the industry tend to neglect, because it's a behavioral issue rather than a technology issue, but it's an area of vulnerability for cloud providers, clearly. François, do you want to expand on that?
In our case,
your microphone needs to be on now.
Yeah, in our case, when you arrive, just imagine you're on Dropbox. It looks pretty much like Dropbox, but it's with more professional features, and you arrive on a safe which is protected, and you need this, and you press the big colored button. It's always works better when it's colored and better than black and white. And then you open the door and you decrypt the data, but you need this. You need a third-party provider that will help giving you the key to decrypt the data, but you need a form of two-factor authentication. In this case, it's not two-factor authentication because we want also a service which can be fully anonymous. So we don't even need to know who you are. You are authenticated on one side and you get a device to open the door on the other side. But it's always the same kind of principle. You need to own something and to know something. I don't see any other way of doing this.
Frank, do you want to add something?
So I wouldn't say that cloud services change the behavior of people so much. It's more like you have these mobile devices and you can have cloud service on it, and when you leave the device somehow with your password, it can happen to you with your laptop as well, where all the data are on. So the problems were there already there, but now with cloud services it's more important because you can access the data everywhere you want.
Well, so the problem used to be limited to a physical location, which might have been secured from premises of an organization, but now the cloud means that you can access the same confidential data, but from your hotel room, when you're working at home, from the cafe, wherever, and that's where the additional risk comes in, I think.
Sure, but you had it before we talk about cloud services, there were laptops, and when you take your laptop home with you and someone stole your laptop, the burglar has also access to your data.
Yeah,
so
sure,
for that, the risk is higher, but the risk was already there.
Mm-hmm. Any other comments on user behavior? And I think it's incumbent on us as cloud providers to make sure that our users are aware of the need to guard these assets more carefully, because they're kind of more exposed to the outside world.
Well, in our case, the user is 100% of the cases an employee of a company. Mm-hmm. And this company pays quite a lot of a high amount of money in order to preserve the documents. So they have their own policy for authentication, strong authentication of the users. But frankly, 90% of the volumes we archive comes directly from the systems, from CMS like Documentum, FileNet, SAP, or whatever. So it's not a human user.
Right.
No.
Okay, so do we have any further questions? So we're just about out of time. So what I'd like to suggest is that, first of all, let me say that we have a fantastic presentation coming up after the break from Christian Frustrator of HP, and so please come back at 3:45 for that. I think it is 3:45 that starts, isn't it? Yes, for that presentation. In the meantime, I'd like to say thank you very much to all of our panelists for a very interesting discussion, and thank you for being with us. Thanks very much.